Hello everybody on YouTube, this is Super Nintendo, and welcome to another episode of Let's Ramble. So, I saw a video just a little minute ago, and it was about this little girl who had like this gigantic birthmark over like half of her face, like Todoroki, from My Hero Academia. And she found like a Todoroki plushie and was like, oh my god, he has a giant birthmark just like me. And there was this guy who was talking about, like, this is why representation in media is so important. Because it gives people the ability to look at these characters and be like, they're just like me. This is, like, moments like this wouldn't happen if you didn't have representation in media.
He does.
Okay, so this little girl has a birthmark and got really excited because she could relate to Todoroki. Now, what if I told you we could make moments like this happen for every young person by supporting and uplifting stories that feature diverse representation? It's been found to increase confidence, self-esteem, and reading engagement for people that don't see themselves represented normally. And seeing different types of people increases empathy, understanding, and social connection from people that are in the majority. When someone yells woke or DEI the moment they see children's media with diverse representation, what they're actually saying is they don't want moments like this one to happen. You know how in My Hero Academia, Hawk says he dreams of a world where the system works so well, heroes don't have to save anybody? In a world where we embrace the benefits of diverse representation, moments like this won't be newsworthy. Because the joy this girl is experiencing is something that every child will have regularly.
And it got me thinking about representation in media and my issues with it, because here's the thing, I'm all for diverse representation in media. I agree it is important, not as important as people make it out to be, but it is important because there are all manner of people out there in the world, and but there is bad representation or bad ways to represent things in media that happen all the fucking time. Now, it kind of reminds me, there was this video that was made recently. I didn't watch it, but I saw the thumbnail by this guy, Anthony something or other, where he was talking about, like, forced representation does not exist. And I respectfully disagree. Because here's the thing with forced representation is that it happens all the time. Either a character is, like, most commonly what happens is a character is twisted into a mold that doesn't fit them. They are either adapted to be gay, black, whatever, when that character is none of those things. Like in the case of MJ Watson or Amber Bennett from the MCU and Invincible series, respectively, or a character is made to be, or like a character is just, even in their source material, they are made to be those things when they never were. For example, Like for example, there was this thing a few years back where they were wanting to make a new Superman movie, but they wanted to turn Clark Kent's Superman black. And a lot of people had issues with this. And typical fashion, people defending this tried to make this out to be because of racism. But here's the thing, Superman, Clark Kent, has not, nor has he ever been black, outside of maybe some magical bullshit where he was turned black, either through red kryptonite or Mr. Mix's Spitlick or something like that. Clark Kent has always been a 6-foot white guy with black hair and blue eyes. That is Superman. But if you want a black Superman, there are two options that were made in the comics at some point that immediately come to mind. I am not super familiar with them, but I know at least one of them. Val-Zod from Earth 2. At least I think he's from Earth 2. He is a black Kryptonian who was sent to Earth and is basically the Earth 2 equivalent of Superman. He even goes by Superman. If you want a black Superman, adapt him. Don't turn Clark Kent black. And there are other such examples too. Like, for example, if they were to do a similar thing with Green Lantern, by the way. Green Lantern, the typical one that a lot of people think of is Hal Jordan. Because he wasn't the first, but he was one of the first. I think he was the first Earth Green Lantern of the Silver Age, from the same age as Barry Allen. I might be getting that wrong, but I'm fairly certain he was. Now, Hal Jordan is one of the most famous Green Lanterns out there. But if you wanted a black Green Lantern, you have John Stewart. He is I think he's an army veteran, or at least he was in some kind of war or something. He is probably most famously shown in the Justice League cartoons. From Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. And he is Green Lantern to a lot of people. Or if you wanted a female Green Lantern, there are literally thousands of them. But if you wanted a Earth female Green Lantern, you have Jessica Cruz. You don't need to turn these characters into something they're not just for the sake of representation. And this is where a lot of people like myself who have an issue with the forced representation also kind of say either adapt a character who already exists that fits this criteria or create your own. Like, for example, my issue with MJ Watson in the MCU. My issue with her is that she is nothing like Mary Jane Watson. And the kind of defense for this character being so different is, one, it's a new take, which, okay, but the character's still nothing like how the character is supposed to be. She doesn't look anything like how she's supposed to be. She's not written anything like how she's supposed to be. She doesn't act anything like how she's supposed to be. So, that's kind of my issue there. But also, if you wanted to make a new character, then make a new character. Peter Parker has had dozens of different love interests. They're all so different from one another. In the comics, he dated Betty Brant for a little while. He dated Gwen Stacy. He dated Mary Jane. He dated Black Cat. I think it's the Brian Michael Bendis thing after One More Day. He dated some other chick, I think. I don't remember what the hell her name was, but Peter Parker has dated tons of different people. If you want to give him a new love interest who's different from MJ in basically every possible way, cool, fine. Give him a different love interest. You don't need to call her MJ Watson, because all that's going to do is create immediate connection to the real MJ, and all you're doing is just pissing people off. Like, if Zendaya's character was called... If she was just called Michelle Jones, just call her that. You could still have, the MJ, but she's not MJ Watson. She's just Michelle Jones. Right? You wouldn't even need to change her character that much. Just call her Michelle Jones. And then, boom. Problem solved. She's not MJ Watson, she's Michelle Jones. There's no Watson there. Just that. It's this it's this kind of bullshit thing where like all they're doing is just pissing people off for the sake of brownie points. But another example of this for the sake of the comics is when you take a character that has existed for a while, in some cases multiple decades, and you shift them to be something that they're not. For example, Tim Drake. Tim Drake Robin has always been straight in the comics. He was dating Stephanie Brown for a little while, I believe. He was dating some other chicks or whatever. But because a lot of people had this very weird misinterpretation about his relationship with Connor Kent, Superboy, people thought that he was gay for whatever reason. So at some point they decided to actually make him gay. And this pissed off a lot of people because Tim Drake, to my knowledge, has never been gay. The same thing kind of happened with Bobby Drake, Iceman, in the Marvel comics. Bobby Drake has had a on-again, off-again relationship with Kitty Pryde, and in the movies, he also had a on-again, off-again relationship with Rogue. Bobby has always been depicted as being straight, but at some point, I think it was during the 2010s, because that's when Marvel really tried to push for this diversity bullshit, literally killing off major characters, giving those IPs to other characters for no other reason than diversity, or forcing in characters that don't need to really exist. Stuff like that. So I think it was during that time. Bobby was made to be gay. He was made to be a closeted gay man who was trying way too hard to prove to people that he was straight or something. And it turns out that he actually was gay. And I think if I'm not mistaken, this came as a result of people who saw the live-action X-Men 2, where Bobby's parents people read into this line as though it is supposed to represent gay people, where Bobby's mother says, have you tried not being a mutant? As though, this is supposed to be an allegory for, gays. Have you tried not being gay? You know? People read it like that. And, I mean, you can take it that way, I guess, but Bobby has never been depicted as being gay before that moment. And, they just forced the character to be gay for brownie points. One of the most famous examples of twisting a character to being something that they're not is Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn was created for Batman the Animated Series, where she was literally created to be Joker's right-hand woman. She was created to be the Joker's girlfriend / wife, whatever. And she had next to no personality outside of him. So, at some point, I think it was during the new Batman adventures, they started pairing her up with Poison Ivy for certain episodes. And people misinterpreted these episodes as Harley and Ivy are in a quasi-romantic relationship. Presumably because it was a Christmas episode and they're both in, an apartment, whatever, and Harley is, half naked. She's in, a crop top t-shirt or a crop top tank top, and she's in, some boxer shorts or something. And people, particularly as they grew up, they misinterpreted this as they were banging in this motel. And they're in like an affair or whatever. And there's literally nothing in the episode to suggest that they were having a romantic relationship at all. But this type of misinterpretation continued for years until like Harley was brought into the comics, where they eventually tried to split her up from the Joker. And when they split her up with the Joker, because Harley has no real personality on her own outside of who she's dating, they stuck her with Poison Ivy. And for a while in the comics, Poison Ivy was very abusive towards Harley, arguably just as much as the Joker was to her. Poison Ivy, like, their relationship was not a good one. There was nothing there to really indicate that they were actually in love. This continued on for a little while until the HBO Harley Quinn show, which, by the way, I did record a first impressions on that show back when I was actually doing first impressions. And, yeah, that show sucks. I don't get why people love it. But, in that show, eventually they have Harley and Ivy get together, and they're like a lovey-dovey couple where there's like one brain cell shared between the two of them. They can't even be in a room together without wanting to bang each other. And this was brought over into the comics with like a Valentine's Day special type of thing. I don't remember what it's called, but like now whenever they're in the comics together, they are just this like this pair of lovesick idiots who can't function without each other. And even when they are together, they're like 1 second away from ripping each other's clothes off and just humping each other really, really aggressively. And this is, a matter of fact, twisting the characters to being something they're not. Or they never were. And the thing is, with Harley and Ivy in particular, both of them are very flirtatious characters. They both flirt with, like, everyone. So it's easy to misinterpret this as though, oh my god, they have, like, this strong romantic connection. And, like, it's kind of the thing, they even do this in the Arkham games. Particularly Arkham Asylum, where Harley frees Ivy, and they both act very flirtatious towards one another. But here's the thing, they're both very flirtatious characters. They flirt with, like, everybody. You know? Like, this does not mean that they are in love with each other. This just means that they are very flirtatious characters. So this is kind of the thing that comes along with this forced diversity bullshit. Hi, something I kind of want to either clarify or add in is, so the reason why this is forced representation, because I bring this up earlier, but I don't think I did a very good job of explaining myself, is that in the case of, like, these, like, you could make an argument for live-action series, but when it comes to, like, comics or TV shows or movies, animated movies or video games or whatever, it literally is forced representation because you are having to actively change the character to fit a criteria that they didn't fill before, just for the sake of having this diverse representation. That to me is really stupid. Not to mention the fact that, you know, not every fucking thing needs to have the entire rainbow-colored bullshit of every fucking people out there. Not every fucking thing needs to have a gay guy, a black woman, an Asian person, a trans person, whatever. Not every fucking thing needs to have the entire rainbow color bullshit of people just for the sake of representation. So that's also something that is really stupid. With Disney recently, they came out and said like they were having trouble trying to figure out how to have an all-white cast for the new Fantastic Four because all the characters are white, or at least they're all supposed to be. But no, they wanted to skirt the line by having a Latino guy, the Pedro Pascal, play Reed Richards, and because he looks white, so like it shouldn't piss off a lot of people, even though it still does for a lot of people. Personally, me, I don't really care all that much, but like it is still something that is like, you know, you don't need to have representation in every fucking thing you make. You don't need it. You know, like when it came to like Black Panther, right? Like Black Panther, mostly black cast, which made sense because the setting was in Africa. It was dealing with all the Wakandans. There was only like one or two white people in the movie. And there's very little representation of people outside of black people in that movie. Did we change any of the other characters in that movie to be gay? Did we? I don't think we did. Did we change a bunch of other characters to be white just for the sake of shoving in more white people? I don't think so. Did we shove in Asian people? I don't think so. I don't think we did. I don't think we did. You know, it's this stupid thing with representation that white people are somehow the scourge of the devil. We need to change every white person to being a different race. It's okay to change them to a different race, but God forbid it's the other way around. You know? Another thing is that when it comes to this whole race bending, this whole like changing characters to being things that they weren't before. Like I said, you can make an argument for live action that you got the best guy for the role. You can make the argument. The reason why we had, what was it, Idris Elba or something for I don't remember the fucking names of a lot of people, but the reason why you got whoever to play Heimdall in the Thor movies, the reason why you got him is just because he was the best guy for the role, right? You can make that argument. When it comes to animated series, though, you are going out of your way to change them to being these things. I mentioned Amber from Invincible because she is a very clear example of this. And like a lot of other characters too in that series got race swapped or gender swapped or whatever. And you didn't need to fucking do this. You did not need to do this. There was no fucking reason to change them. You went out of your way to change this character, change how she's written, change how she looks, change how she acts, and everything. That you literally are forcing this into the series. That is forced representation. But another thing that I wanted to talk about is the character, the idea that when you change a character's personality, you are changing the way that they are representing. Because a lot of people love to use the, well, it's a different take argument. The reason why this, to me, falls flat is you are trying to be a particular character. You are trying to represent that character. That character is more than just their fucking name. Or in the case of their powers or whatever, they are more than just their powers. They are more than just their appearance. They are more than just their fucking name. So when you change a character's personality so drastically that they don't even resemble the character from the source material, they're not that character anymore. They are not that character anymore. This is why I have such a hard time with the whole it's a different take argument for something like MCU Spider-Man, for MCU Flash, for MCU MJ. Because none of these characters are the characters they are supposed to be representing. This is not Peter Parker. This is not Flash Thompson. This is not MJ. This is not Betty Brant. This is not May Parker. They are these characters in name only. And in the case of MJ, not even that. I came to watch Spider-Man. You know what comes in with the package of Spider-Man? His supporting cast. I come for Peter Benjamin Parker. I come for May Parker. I come for Mary Jane Watson. I come for Flash Thompson. I don't know why I'm doing this. And these characters are not in the movie. These characters are not in these movies. We have a bunch of imposters who just stole their fucking names. Because these are not... This is not MJ. This is not Peter. This is not May. This is not Flash. This is the problem with the it's a different take argument. Because this shit only fucking works if you have a currently running series where the characters are themselves. Like, the reason why it is okay to have a Peter B. Parker in the Into the Spider-Verse movie is because we have a Peter who is the stereotypical Peter Parker in the movie. We had him. We saw how Spider-Man is supposed to be. So having a different version who had a different life, who had a much longer life, who has a different personality, who had different events happen to him, so he wound up different, but he is still very clearly Peter Parker. That's okay, because we saw the normal Peter Parker. We don't get that in the MCU. We do not get that. And arguably, we haven't gotten that in any of the live-action movies, because all of the live-action movies are very different from their source material. The closest one, the one who comes the closest to his comic book material, is Tobey Maguire. Now, I have one more kind of topic to really talk about this with, and it is sort of when a character is adapted. I sort of touched on this before with MJ, but a lot of times in recent years, when a character is adapted into a new medium and they are race swapped, for whatever reason, their personality is completely changed too. I already mentioned MJ as a very prominent example of this, but another example of this is Amber Bennett for the Invincible series. In the comics, Amber is this blonde white girl who is in a relationship with Mark, just like how she is in the show. The difference is, in the show, in the comics, she is this very nice girl who loves Mark, and she suspects Mark whenever he goes off to go do his superhero things in secret. She suspects him of being a drug dealer, and she has a talk with one of her friends, and eventually comes to the realization that I don't think she even figures it out on her own. In the comics, Mark tells her that he's invincible, and rather than being upset with him because he never told her up until that point, like she is in the TV show, in the comics, she is overjoyed. She's very proud that her boyfriend is a superhero, that he is out saving lives, and she understands the type of responsibility that he has as a superhero. She understands that he can't be with her all the time because he has a responsibility with this great power to save people. Because even though there's a lot of superheroes in the Invincible world, a lot of them die all the time. So with Invincible, there's always a need to going out to save people. And she understands this. And eventually, in the comics, the Invincible and Mark and Amber end up calling it off very nicely because they both come to the realization that Mark can't give her the time and attention that she deserves as his girlfriend, and she comes to the realization that his time is better spent out saving people. So they call things off very respectfully. They're very nice to each other. Whereas in the TV show, Amber is this mega bitch who is constantly verbally abusive to Mark. She is constantly pissy for no fucking reason. And they try to make up for this by making her like this person who works at soup kitchens and builds homes for the homeless and stuff like this. But all this does is just make her look like a Mary Sue. And like she was never really interested in Mark. Like the only reason she became interested in Mark in the TV show is because Mark got his ass beat by some bully. I think his name was Todd, and by her own admission, she's like, I've had guys fight for me before, but you're the first guy who ever just stood there and took a beating for me. I wanted to know the type of guy who would do that. And she also only became interested in Mark after rumors started going around that he was dating Eve Wilkins, who is Adam Eve. And repeatedly in the show, she continues to just berate Mark for no good reason, really. And it's really fucking stupid. Like, after Mark gets his ass beat and almost dies at the hand of Battle Beast, the cover story that she's told and a lot of his friends are told is that he was hit by a bus or hit by a car or something. And the second he gets out of the hospital, he goes to see Amber. He's still bruised. He's still all beat up. Like, he's not fully healed. She can see his wounds, and her response is, I basically dumped you that night because you were supposed to show up at the soup kitchen or whatever. And Mark basically has to plead with her, like, oh, please, I know I don't deserve you, but please give me another chance, please. And just as he's about to leave, because she's not giving him a chance, she puts her hand up like a phone and is like, oh, hey, we're gonna start over. Whatever. And it's like, dude, chill the fuck out. As far as you're aware, he just got out of the hospital because he was hit by a fucking bus. Cut him some slack. You know? And here's the thing that really pushed Amber into unlikable territory for a ton of people. In the penultimate episode of Season 1, Mark does reveal to her his secret identity, just like he does in the cartoon or in the comics. And Amber's response is, "Oh my god, I figured this out weeks ago, you asshole! Like we're fighting because you made me feel stupid and unimportant because you wouldn't tell me that you're a superhero and all this stuff. I figured it out weeks ago." And here's the thing. If she figured it out weeks ago, the thing with Battle Beast and the episode before it, where Invincible was fighting the, I think it's the Ultimen or something, these like robot cyborg things created by Clive Sinclair, or not Clive Sinclair, I don't know. I think his last name is Sinclair or something. I don't fucking know. He, like, Mark was getting his ass beat and defending, his friend and Amber from one of those rogue cyborg things. And, she saw this. And after Mark zips away to change back into his civilian identity and runs back into Amber, she cries. She's like, you said you were going to be different. You promised. You promised you were going to put us first. You ran away and left us with this thing. She knows he's invincible by this point, and she is just berating him constantly, even though knowing that he didn't fucking abandon her, that he was literally trying to defend her and his friend. And she throws a fucking fit. She knows that he didn't really get hit by a bus, and still constantly makes it his problem. This had such a major backlash that in season 2 they more or less reverted her character to how she was in the comics. But it feels like just a bandage, because she was a major bitch throughout most of season 1. And that's not even, like, all of the bad things that she did in season 1. Like, there's a massive amount of things that she did badly in season 1, to a point where I might give it its own video. But, yeah, Amber was a complete fucking bitch. And people who defend her love to accuse her critics as like, oh, you're racist, you're bigoted, you're whatever. And like, the problem with Amber's character has never been her fucking race. The problem with this character, and the same thing for Michelle Jones in the MCU, is that this character is nothing like the character from the source material. They are completely different fucking characters. So the fact that their defenders try to boil down to everyone's problems to you're racist, you're bigoted, you're whatever, is very disingenuous, because it feels like they're not even listening to people's arguments. And this is kind of the problem with forced diverse representation in general, is that oftentimes characters are forced into a mold that doesn't fit them just for the sake of diversity, or when they do get a race swap, oftentimes their characters are completely changed. And here's the weird thing too, in the case of Invincible, this isn't even like true for every character. A lot of characters in Invincible are either race swapped or gender swapped, and no one gives a shit because their characters are largely the same, or they are bit characters that don't mean much of anything. Like, for example, in the comics, Rexplode is a white guy, whereas in the TV show, he is darker skinned. I want to say he's Mexican or Latino or something. I don't know. I'm not super good at reading races just by skin color, admittedly. But like, he's darker skinned with like brown hair or something in the TV show. And he's not like that in the comics. But like, his personality is largely the same. You know? Or Green Ghost. Green Ghost in the comics was a guy and in the first season of the TV show, it's a woman. Or Shrinking Ray, who joins the Guardians of the Globe. Shrinking Ray was a guy, whereas in the TV show, it's a girl. Like, these characters are changed from their comic book material, but their personalities are either inconsequential or they're left intact. So, again, it's not that the characters have been race swapped that's the issue, or gender swapped in the case of Shrinking Ray and Green Ghost. The problem with Amber is that her personality is so changed that she's not even recognizable as the same character. So, yeah. I guess I before I end off the video, I will say, as much as I hate the modern Spider-Man landscape where they just keep creating more and more spider people, I can at least respect Marvel to some degree when it comes to this diversity bullshit, because with different spiders, oftentimes when they need a new spider for the sake of representation, they just create a new spider. They don't bend Peter Parker into this mold of making him gay or black or handicapped or whatever. With these different spiders, they just create new spiders for these different archetypes. They wanted a gay spider, they created Webweaver. They wanted a spider person with physical disabilities, they created Sun Spider, who in the comics, she is in a wheelchair for her civilian identity, but in her spider identity, she uses like crutches or something that have like built-in web shooters. They wanted a black Spider-Man, they created Miles Morales. You know, they wanted a Japanese spider, which for this one I'm unsure if he's actually Japanese, but they created Mangaverse Spider-Man, and manga is typically associated with Japan, and Mangaverse Spider-Man is from a ninja clan that is themed around spider stuff. So, and ninja are often associated with Japan. So, yeah, I don't know if he's actually supposed to be Japanese, but he's at least more in that league than a lot of other people might give him credit for. So, that's kind of why I respect Marvel. Sorry, that was my dog. That's kind of why I respect Marvel with the diverse things when it comes to the spider people a bit more than a lot of other characters. But, yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below when it comes to this issue, because I know that this is a very hot button issue and has been for a little while, but this is sort of my take on it, that a pre-existing character should be left intact, and if you're going to adapt a character for the sake of representation, you should adapt a character who fits that mold or create your own. I feel like it's not that hard to do, and it's just, I don't know. That's my thoughts on the issue. I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.
Selling a sinking square window! The skies a bit clearer today. The rain has passed me by. I went to open